Okay, thanks everyone. All right, give me a thumbs up if you could see my screen. Great, perfect. All right, everyone. So welcome to the Earth Series kickoff meeting. Today I have Matt from Leave No Trace, who's going to talk a little bit about what they do and why the Earth Series is so important. So he's going to speak to us in a little bit, but in the meantime, I had asked earlier today where you all were joining from. It looks like we have participants from all around the US, and there were a lot of you who were familiar with Leave No Trace, and there were a few that weren't. So this is wonderful. We're all going to learn something. In the meantime, I'm going to talk a little bit about what the challenge is, just so there were a few questions that came up, and this will just clarify that. And then Leave No Trace will come on and share a little bit about, what their organization does and how we are supporting them. And then we're going to have a Q&A. So thank you so much for being here. So yeah, I had thought about this challenge actually a couple years ago, and I was actually in talks with Leave No Trace to go ahead and, launch something. And, through a series of situations, it didn't work out in that time period, but here we are, So I guess the lesson there is persistence pays off. And I think for me, this challenge is really more important now more than ever. We are really kind of been facing a lot of challenges in the outdoor and recreation spaces. And so this challenge is really truly all about giving back to the trails that give us so much. And so the challenge is pretty easy. It's you have a 3-month time frame. So it starts August 1st and ends October 31st. And the goal is really to get outdoors, continue doing your hikes, at least a mile. And while you're at it, pick up some trash, and for those of you that have placed your orders, you should receive everything by September 15th. If you picked up the Deuter bag, then in the meantime, you can always bring a reusable trash bag that you might have, or some sort of um, biodegradable bag. Even if it's a trash bag at the end of the day, picking up trash on your walks or hikes is a great way to get started and give back, right? And then we wanted to also make this relevant by teaching other things you may or may not be aware of that come to Leave No Trace, having you take their course, which Matt will talk more about. So if you've already done the activities, you can just do a combination. So we'll go through the list in a little bit. So for those of you that have signed up, you don't need to sign up again, but these are some of the steps, right? Like first, you're going to sign up and commit. Hopefully you've invited your friends and family to join. Um, I hope that all of you, when you signed up, got your log, and that had all of the information with the activities list. If any of you had any problems, let me know. I'd be happy to email you anything that you're missing. And then, of course, we'd love for you to share your impact through social media. And when you're done, please make sure to fill out the finisher form, because we have a grand prize and we are so happy to support you in your journey, and, also give back to you. So I'm going to let Matt talk about the activities. And let's talk about, I guess my light went out here. Sorry about that. Let me see if I can get that light back on. It's on a timer. Sorry, everyone. So, one of the big things is why this matters now. It's that piece of reciprocity. If you've been a long time outdoors enthusiast, hiker, camper. You know, a part of our job here on Earth right now is not only to take from land and its resources, but to truly give back. How do we do that, right? There's so many ways. This is one of those ways. Every time I know I go camping here where I live in New Mexico, the first thing I do is clean up my campsite because people leave all kinds of micro trash. And I know just by doing that little bit, I'm leaving it better than I found it. And I'm also showing others who are coming to the camp after me what a nice, clean campground looks like, right? Or when I'm hiking, every time I have that Deuter bag with me and I see trash, it like turns on this little thing in my head that goes, "Hey, pick that up." We don't need to leave that there. It doesn't belong there. And so this reciprocity is so important in everything we do in our lives. Life is not just take, take, take. There is truly a give and a take. And the more we can start building that relationship with the land and Mother Earth now, we're going to find so many more blessings that come through the outdoors that I won't even share because you're just going to have those experiences for yourself. But truly, it's that give and take. So that's the first reason why I feel this challenge really matters. And we're all, in a way, we're the ones that are going to leave that example. So as we are doing this, we are also showing others how to be responsible recreationists, hikers, nature lovers. So, of course, you all have probably heard the news and seen everything that's been happening this year with budget cuts, our parks being under attack, our public lands being under attack. There have been a lot of jobs that have been cut that probably have a lot to do with trail maintenance, cleanups. I don't know. I'm sure most of you remember during COVID time where trash cans were overflowing in parks because there wasn't enough staff. All of that has impacts, right? So what can we do? We could do our part, whether it's we bring our trash back home with us or we pick up, trash that we find, or we sign up for a trail maintenance project. So it's really a great time to start thinking about our impact, not only from us being on the trails, but then again, what's that reciprocity? So this was a little quote that I pulled off of the website. And, just that together we are making a positive impact through building community of earth caretakers through stewardship, education, and service, all while supporting one of our favorite partners, Leave No Trace. And it is truly an honor to be able to do this with them and to have their partnership in this to say, hey, like, what are some other ways that we can not only teach people about Leave No Trace, but also in return, they are able to receive some of these benefits directly that impact them teaching what they teach, which I think is truly important for anyone who likes to recreate outside. So without further ado, I'm going to have Matt come on and he's going to talk a little bit about Leave No Trace. I'm going to stop my share and let him take it away.
All right, give me just a second. All right, go ahead and get this rolling here. First of all, thank you, Carla. My name is Matt Schneider, and I work for the Leave No Trace Center for Outdoor Ethics. I think a lot of you at the beginning raised your hand and said you were familiar with Leave No Trace, and I think many people have heard of it at the very least. For those of you who haven't, welcome. I'm glad you're here. Leave No Trace is an outdoor ethic. It's a movement, and it's also a nonprofit organization based in Boulder, Colorado. I'm actually coming to you today from the Blue Ridge Mountains here in North Carolina, outside of Asheville, which is where I make my home. So thank you all for being here and for taking this challenge, whether it's your first challenge in the 52 hike series, or or your 10th or more. We really do appreciate you all being here. Today, I'm going to kind of give you a little bit more background on what Leave No Trace does. So kind of highlight a little bit more of the kind of work that you're supporting by participating in this challenge. And then also give you some information. Some of it you might be familiar with if you've taken a Leave No Trace course before. But also some stuff that I think will hopefully help to inform you and inspire you to share what you know about Leave No Trace with other people so that we can pass that on. So I think it's, one of the things I like to mention at the very beginning is that, most people who go outside, the vast majority of people you're going to see out on the trails are there for overlappingly similar reasons. It's because they love being outside. They like the fresh air. They like the peace, the solitude. They like the physical challenge. They love the natural beauty. But it's important to remember that we all have an impact. So leaving no trace is impossible if we're going to go outside. We're going to have some impact whether we like it or not. What we're trying to do is avoid the avoidable impacts. So we are a nonprofit organization. We have locations all around the world. We're kind of both the United States and kind of international base for the Leave No Trace movement. And one of the reasons why it's so important to get folks involved in this is because we know that people who are trained in Leave No Trace are not only 5 times more likely to take actions that protect nature, which is important, but they're also more likely to pass that on. Each person trained in Leave No Trace trains several hundred people in their lifetime. So challenge to you all to take what you learn here today and pass it along to your friends and your family. So we do this in kind of 3 ways. The first is through expanding training. The second is increasing stewardship. And the third is through advancing science and research. So here today, this is a kind of very condensed version of our training. We're going to kind of give some background on what Leave No Trace does, and then talk a little bit about the Leave No Trace 7 principles as it relates to hiking. But we also have a really broad and robust training structure that I'll get into in just a minute here. The second is to increase stewardship. So one of the activities that you all can participate in as part of the challenge is to spend some time joining with a local conservation group, whether informally on your hikes, just doing some cleanup, or as part of a concerted effort on trail restoration or stream bank restoration, invasive species removal, any number of things like that. And the third thing that we do is we are very involved in science and research. So all of our Leave No Trace principles, and this is something I think it's important for you to know as a practitioner of Leave No Trace and someone who's sharing it with other people, to let them know that all of this is informed through the study of recreation ecology, which studies how, when we go outside, what we are doing to the environment, right? How our footsteps and our voices and our smell and everything else that we might do outside, how that impacts the natural system. It's really important to understand that. And then the second area is human dimensions of natural resources, which is just a fancy way of how do we convince people to change their behavior? Because most of the stuff that people are doing that is having a negative impact to the outdoors, on the face of it, seems kind of innocent, and you might scratch your head and say, well, why can't I do that? So that's the other area of study that informs a lot of the work we do. When we talk about Leave No Trace, we talk about it as existing on a spectrum. We're not talking about rules. There are no Leave No Trace police. And most of us fall somewhere on a spectrum between leaving a significant impact when we go outside. So, and we're talking about harmful impacts, right? And having less of an impact. And over time, our goal with Leave No Trace education is to give people the tools and the knowledge and the skill that they need to over time leave less of an impact. So if we can move people a little bit more towards the left side of this spectrum, that's really good. And one of the big reasons for that is that a lot of the damage and the harm that we see to wildlife, to soils, to vegetation, to habitat, is due to what we call a cumulative effect. One person going outside is going to have a hard time on their own doing lasting damage. but it's 10 people, 20 people, 1,000 people, all doing the same fairly innocent things that really add up to big harm. Now, the flip side of that, of course, is that if you can teach a lot of people how to reduce their impact on the outdoors just a little bit, then that's going to have a really big cumulative impact in a positive way for protecting public lands. As you can see here, hundreds of millions of visits per year to all of these different lands managed by a variety of different agencies here. Leave No Trace itself kind of has its roots in the recreation boom, outdoor recreation boom of the 1960s and 70s. Lots of people started going out to public lands who hadn't before, and much larger numbers. And quickly, folks realized that education had to be a really big part of preventing permanent damage to the outdoors. So the idea of Leave No Trace and some practices and tips and tricks were formulated around that time. As time went on, it became clear that there was a need for an independent organization to kind of head that up, the formation of this curriculum, to help make sure that it was consistent, make sure it was informed by science. And so that's where Leave No Trace came in. So in the mid-90s, Leave No Trace, the organization was formed, and here we are 30 years later. Since that time, we kind of had our roots in the backcountry. Things like backpacking, alpine climbing, mountaineering, things like that. We've expanded it quite a bit to include a lot more of what we would call front country or day use. The vast majority of people who go outside are folks who are no more than a day's walk from their vehicle or from their hotel room or their campsite. So today we get our mission done. We have about 12 staff between Boulder and several remote staff and a team on the road. And we have a lot to do. So we do a lot of this by involving members, volunteers. We have a really large list of trained instructors who are all in various roles, whether it's professionally or just personally, out there, year-round, sharing the Leave No Trace message, setting up at trailheads, talking to people, giving talks, going to Boy Scout, Girl Scout groups, teaching it in their college courses, if they're in outfitters and guides, sharing it in that way. We also work very closely with all the federal land management agencies. As Carla mentioned, they have always been, and are, I think even more so now, very strapped for resources. But they're certainly on board, and they're great advocates for what we do, and we hope to continue to support them on the education side of things. And then, of course, we have really great partners in the kind of the private space, like 52 Hike Challenge, and others in the outdoor industry who are really kind of put their soul into protecting the places, right? Their whole thing is the outdoors, and so they want to make sure it's protected. And so we're really grateful for all of those partners as well. As I said before, we have Leave No Trace branches all around the world. It's really, really growing. Actually, the most website hits we get are from China. So that's exciting. It's also the second most populous country, so maybe not too surprising, but there's a lot of enthusiasm all over the world for Leave No Trace, which just goes to show people love being outside. People love protecting the outdoors. Here in the United States, we have a really robust series of programs that we are directly involved in from the side of the Leave No Trace organization itself. So these are some of the things that you all are supporting by participating in this. So one of the first programs that's really exciting is what we call the Spotlight program. And so these are places that are starting to see a rise in visitation. They're maybe starting to feel a lot of pressure from new users or new visitors, and they're starting to see some damage from that, damage to the environment. And what we do is we send teams of trained educators to be on the ground in person for 2 to 3 days in these locations, and they do public outreach and education. They do professional development with volunteers and land managers in those areas to really kind of help build awareness, spread the word, and give folks an infusion of hope and excitement around sharing a Leave No Trace educational message. We also work in a much kind of more in-depth way with land managers in areas that have been hard hit to formulate strategy around comprehensive education programs through our hotspot consulting programs. And then kind of on the other end of that, we have we want to promote folks who are doing a really great job and are kind of like the gold standard in Leave No Trace education. And so we have an ever-growing list of parks and protected areas that are what we call gold standard sites. So they meet a really high standard for education, training of both their staff and visitors to those areas in how to protect them. So the idea here is that we want to be able to embed Leave No Trace so thoroughly that as an organization we can kind of step back and it'll take care of itself. As I mentioned before, at the beginning, we do have a really robust youth curriculum. On lnt.org, there are lots of free activities and lesson plans that you all are free to download and take if you're working with kids or if you have kids. They're even fun for adults. I think some of those games that we use for kids are just as fun for groups of adults if you have a willing group of participants. So today you are involved in a form of our training and education. At the end of this, if you have never had any formal Leave No Trace education before, you will now have had an awareness workshop and will be qualified up to your level of comfort to teach someone else Leave No Trace. Leave No Trace is wonderful because it is pretty straightforward. It's not hard to learn or hard to put into practice. And so that's I challenge you all to get out there and do that. If you haven't taken it yet, the Leave No Trace 101 course is an excellent course. Every time I go through it, I'm reminded of something that I'd forgotten, and I've been teaching Leave No Trace for years. So it's really good. It's really good to share with folks, and it is free and available on our website. So as Carla mentioned, part of this is for you part of the challenge is for you to do 2 of these activities, right? So there's the 101 course that I mentioned. It's really great. You can organize a group cleanup in your area, pick up trash on your hikes or walks, volunteer with a local trail conservation or land management project. This is a really great one. If you haven't ever done this, it's really, really fun. It's a great way to meet people. And especially in an area where you hike a lot, it's really, really rewarding to kind of get your hands dirty and give back in that form. Citizen science projects is another really great way to do this. Not every location is going to have something readily available for you, but apps like iNaturalist and things like that oftentimes have opportunities for folks to take pictures and report on the things they see, whether it's just inventorying plants and animals and things like that, or doing kind of a little bit more involved things. If you don't have the time or physical ability to volunteer in trail conservation, you can always donate to an organization that focuses on trail maintenance, conservation, etc. And here's where I think I would really encourage you all to do this. Is to just share the Leave No Trace message. When you're talking about your hike, when you're posting the pictures on social media, share a little Leave No Trace tip, or an observation that you made about Leave No Trace, and maybe it could be something you saw that was less than Leave No Trace, or maybe something you saw that was great. I saw everyone walking through the center of the muddy trail instead of walking around it, or something like that. Here you are already attending one Leave No Trace virtual program, so you can check that off the list. And then, of course, coming out this fall, we're actually going to have a really neat Leave No Trace and Daily Life course. So as I said before, we're expanding the scope of what we do from kind of that backcountry area into a lot more things, because one of the great things about Leave No Trace is that it's an ethic that can be applied to daily life. So we're gonna have an online course that focuses on daily life Leave No Trace as well. So the 7 principles. All right. So here's the Leave No Trace practice itself. The 7 principles are we have practices for each principle that are specialized for all kinds of different environments and different activities. Which is one of the reasons that there are no hard and fast rules, because depending on where you are and what you're doing, what it means to leave no trace is going to be different. So I'm going to talk today specifically about in the context of hiking. And depending on where you are in the country, I saw some folks all over the place, whether you're in an arid environment or mountain, alpine environment or a forest, you can go into even more detail there as well. I'm happy to answer questions at the end of this, and there's a lot more information on this on our website, lnt.org. So the first principle, and I'm actually going to, if you can see me, or if you can't, you can move over here to the window and expand it, and give me number 1. And these are one of the activities was to teach the 7 principles hand signs to a friend or a colleague. You'll never forget them after this. If you put your finger up in the air, you're going to plan ahead. You're going to take your hand and write a little note. You're going to plan ahead and prepare. Or another way of saying this is to know before you go. And you can point to your head, say no before you go. So this is the first one. If you are ready for an outdoor adventure, if you have the right food, clothing, footwear, you have a route plan, then you're going to be a lot better positioned to make good decisions. Leave No Trace is about making good decisions to protect the outdoors. If you find yourself cold, wet, hungry, tired, lost, then you're going to be making suboptimal decisions, either because out of necessity or because your brain is no longer functioning at the highest level. We don't do well when we're panicked and uncomfortable. So that's one of the reasons why planning ahead and preparing is so important. That's one of the reasons it's the first principle. The second principle, number 2, is to travel and camp on durable surfaces. So you can take your 2, turn it upside down, walk it down your hand, you're traveling, and then you can pitch your tent and you're camping on a durable surface. So what this means in the simplest terms is to stick to designated trails. All right, not only is this safer and it'll help keep you found and out of trouble from ankle breaking rocks and sticks, but it only takes a handful of footsteps to start creating a permanent impact, or an impact that takes a long time to heal. So sticking to those durable surfaces like compacted earth, dry grass, pine duff, things like that are going to really go a long way to not creating new and avoidable impacts in these wild places. The third one is to dispose of waste properly. And so this one, you take your 3 fingers and you use them as like a little tri-pronged trash picker. Or if you will, you can take it and use it to dig a cat hole, right? So dispose of waste properly. A lot of people, this is where folks think of when they think of Leave No Trace: pack it in, pack it out, pack out your trash, pick up trash. But what a lot of folks don't realize, and it's a pretty innocent thing to not be aware of, is that food scraps are also trash, and they do need to be packed out. And the reason for this, of course, is that not only are they unsightly and they can take a long time to break down, right? So orange peels can take several years to break down in the environment. But they also will bring animals and other critters close to places where humans are: trails, roadsides, campsites, etc. And this is not good for the animals, and it's not good for humans. It creates nuisance animals, and sometimes those animals, like aggressive food habituated bears, unfortunately need to end up getting euthanized because of human animal conflicts. When it comes to bathroom use, this is the other part of disposing of waste properly. If you have a bathroom, you should use it. And if you don't, we always recommend going at least 70 big steps away from trails, camp, and water, and digging a 6-inch cat hole in the ground to prevent your poop from getting into water, from coming into contact with other people, and from coming into contact with animals, insects, etc. Right? An insect lands on the waste, and then it goes and lands on your granola bar, and that's no fun. Same thing with pet waste. Pet waste is a really big pollutant of streams, not just in urban areas, but also even in remote areas. Recently found out one of a popular lake in the Bridger Teton National Forest is one of the most bacteria-laden lakes in a lot across the country, and it's in a remote wilderness area. But a big part of that is improperly disposed of human and pet waste. The fourth one, and this is an easy one to remember, you take 2 fingers on one hand, 2 on the other, and you make a little like a iPhone or camera phone, and you take a picture, and you leave behind what you're taking a picture of. So leave what you find is the fourth principle. This is kind of the most ethical one, right? Because I think all of us, myself included, have items in our home that we found in nature, and we thought, I'm going to take that home with me because it's so beautiful and it reminds me of my time in the woods. And so with this one, what we're doing is just asking you to consider, how important it is to take something as opposed to leaving it, and then just to be aware that pretty much everything you find out there, from downed logs and moss and leaves to rocks and sticks and everything else, has a role in that environment as habitat, as food for plants and animals. And also, when we talk with kids about this, we say if you see something out there that makes you go wow, that we don't want to steal someone else's wow. So the next person that comes along is going to have an opportunity to see it. Almost all of us now have little tiny portable cameras in our pockets. Number 5, this is the fun one. Take your 5 fingers, put it in a campfire ring, and you're going to make your fire burn. And we're going to minimize campfire impacts. This one doesn't have as much of an issue for day hikers, since most day hikers don't have fires. But if you're going to have a fire, let's say maybe you do one of your hikes as part of a camping trip. The important thing is to make sure that when you're done with the fire, that it is completely out. You need to douse it with water, and to the point where it's cold to the touch. Wind can pick up and restart a fire that you might think has already gone out. So about 80 to 90% of wildfires are actually caused by humans. This is one of those exceptions to the most people can't do a lot of harm. One little fire that's left unattended can actually burn down a whole forest. Number 6, take 3 fingers on one hand, 3 on the other, stick them behind your head, make your favorite animal, whether it's ears or antlers, and we're going to respect wildlife. So one of the things we talked about earlier with regard to food is making sure that you don't intentionally or inadvertently feed animals. Animals have plenty of natural food out there, and human food, not only is it not good for them, but it changes their behavior in ways that isn't healthy for them or you. When you're observing wildlife, you want to observe them from a distance. People say, well, what distance? We have a trick that we like to teach everyone. It's called the thumb trick. You can do it with me right now on these owls on the screen. Take your one arm, stick it all the way out, full extension with your thumb up, and then cover one eye or close one eye, and then try to cover up the owls with your thumb. If you can't do it, then you are too close. You need to move back. One kind of addendum to that is if you find yourself watching an animal and all of a sudden it changes its behavior, even if you can cover it with your thumb, you're still probably too close, and you kind of want to back away. And the 7th principle of Leave No Trace is to be considerate of other people. So you can give a 2 and 5, and you can give a peace sign and a wave, high five. Lots of people go outside, and I think that's perfectly fine. We can have more people going outside. It doesn't have to be more impact if everyone who goes outside does things to reduce that impact. As it relates to hiking, we're talking about things like making sure that you are keeping your volume low, not using things like Bluetooth speakers, making sure that if you go with your dog to a place that allows pets, that you keep them on a leash, because not everyone loves dogs, and not all dogs love other dogs. So those are some considerate things you can do. Um, eh, the other thing here is when you're on a narrow trail, it's important to understand what yielding means and who needs to yield to whom. So on accessible trails, people who are using accessibility devices like wheelchairs or walkers, they have the right of way over and above everyone else. On all other trails, typically where equestrians are allowed, equestrians, horseback riders will have the right of way because they're on a very large animal that's easily scared. And so we tend to defer to them. After that, hikers have the right of way over cyclists who yield to everyone else. If you are an uphill hiker, you're going to want to, or sorry, if you're a downhill hiker, you're going to yield to uphill hikers. And of course, when you yield, it doesn't necessarily mean stopping. It just means communicating and making sure that the person who has the right of way has what they need. Oftentimes, when I yield to an uphill hiker, they stop and say, I need a break too. But we have that conversation, and no one's feathers are ruffled. So that was a lot of information, and there's a lot more, of course. As I said before, we have several different training tracks. You can take a 5-day backcountry course on Leave No Trace. So there's a lot more to learn if you're interested in doing that. All of our courses are available to anyone who wants to take them. There are multiple different course providers all over the country, and you can find more information about that at lnt.org. So here's a good, if you want to learn more about those training courses, you can grab this or just go to lnt.org and click on Learn. There's a lot of different information there. And finally, I want to thank you all again for participating in this. You all are an excellent audience for this, as folks who are enthusiastic about going outside and wanting to be part of a community and to help spread the Leave No Trace message. So I'll pause there and open up the floor. If you all have, I know we have just a couple minutes here, but if you all have any questions about Leave No Trace, what we do, what our practices are, what the principles are, etc.
You can add those to the chat or just unmute yourself. But Matt, thank you so much for that information. I feel like this is one of my favorite trainings because I didn't even know the hand signals. So my favorite one, I think, was this one with the critters.
Yep.
So, I learned a lot and I hope that everyone else did. So feel free if you have any questions, unmute yourself or pop it in the chat, and appreciate that. Looks like we have a question, Matt. When digging a cat hole, is it advised to go 70 steps away from the trail or just 70 steps away from water?
Yeah, so the most important factor there is the water. Because one of the primary reasons that we're burying our waste is to prevent water contamination. If you find yourself in a position where you can't get that far away, there are actually kind of Leave No Trace, advanced Leave No Trace. There are these things called portable personal toilets or WAG bags that have a chemical in them, and it's a double bag system, and you can actually go to the bathroom in a bag, seal it up, and pack it out with you. That's, most people don't love doing that, but that's one part of planning ahead and preparing is knowing whether or not you're going to be in an area where those are required or necessary. But great question. Yeah, we want to go 70 steps from water. If you can't get 70 steps away from the trail, we all say, again, do the best you can, right? These aren't rules, they're guidelines. So great question.
Hi there, I have a question.
Yeah.
Thank you, Matt, for this presentation. I'm curious, do you guys keep any data on particularly the trash collected or anything that then gets used for raising more awareness or even in legislation?
Yeah, so when we do when we lead cleanups and stuff like that, we do keep our own internal numbers on trash picked up, and it's a lot. But one of the great things about trash cleanups is that, and this is kind of playing into, and I don't know if you were there at the beginning, but when we study human behavior and what influences how people behave, we know, for example, that when folks visit an area that doesn't have much or any trash on the ground, that they tend to be much less likely to be careless with their own trash. So trash cleanups, a lot of times people say, oh, we got, 500 pounds or 1,000 pounds of trash. And sometimes that's really big numbers and it can be striking. One of the great things to know is that when cleanups happen several times, again and again in the same area, that over time we start to see significantly less trash as well. So
I
great
also
question.
want to add that after the challenge, when people fill out the finisher form, we are asking you to kind of keep track, an idea of how much trash you picked up, just so that we could see, what impact we made. So, um, on your logs, I think there is a little like section that says how many pounds, and you can kind of just weigh it out as you're kind of, you know, about to throw it into the trash can. So we have another question from Sherry. She wants to go to schools and start a program with younger children. Does Leave
Mm.
No Trace supply educational info to hand out to them to take home? Do you recommend more training so that she could be successful and the children get excited about leaving no trace and getting outside more? She wants to host hikes as well.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's great, Sherry. We have a lot of different resources. One, which is a pretty new resource, is an online youth educator certification, which kind of really goes deep into how to be an effective Leave No Trace educator for kids. We do have a lot of Leave No Trace resources and games and things, printable PDFs and things like that. Um, we do have some merch and some Leave No Trace branded stickers and reference cards like you might have seen before with all kinds of Leave No Trace information that are available for purchase on our website. If there was something that you did want to share physically with the kids, and those are all pretty much we sell them at cost. So just to pass that on.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
I also purchased a book already. It's the
Oh,
Leave
very
No,
cool.
so I want to share that with the kids.
That's wonderful.
Thank you so much, Matt. I am going to, if it's okay with you, continue on with my presentation. And if anyone
Perfect.
has any other questions, you're more than welcome to pop in the chat at the end. So thank you all. Thank you again. Thank you all for your great questions and Matt. And I'm just thrilled and I'm happy for everyone who's going to watch this and learn from this recording. Okay, so someone brought up this really important topic on one of our posts that we did about the challenge. And she said she had an incident where she grabbed something and got injured. And of course, we don't want that to happen. Of course, there are special circumstances where this occurred, right? That doesn't mean it's going to happen to you, but just being mindful when you're cleaning up trash. If something looks sketchy, just leave it behind. Don't put yourself at risk, right? On that note, you can bring a trash picker. I have one. They're really inexpensive. I actually looked into them on Amazon and I think they were like a couple bucks. They're great because you can like just have the trash picker pull whatever you want, put it in your Deuter trash bag or your whichever bag you have. And then, of course, don't forget the possibility of bringing gloves with you. Work gloves are great. If you, like, for example, I live now on a river trail. It is in my backyard. And occasionally, a couple times in every couple months, I will go out and just pick up trash. If I'm going to do that, I know how bad it can get after a storm. So I would bring those work gloves, which are going to have a lot more protection. And then, of course, joining cleanup hikes through parks or organized hikes, sometimes they're going to have additional equipment for you. So just be mindful as you're picking things up. I know there's been a lot of times where I've even thought to myself to just go out on the trails to pick up dog poop bags because there's so many. So if you want to do something like that, maybe you're very intentional about it. You can do a lot of different things, right? Not only have your gloves on, but have double bags to pick up the dog poop bags. A lot of times when I've gone and done that, and I have, the bags will disintegrate. And then it's like, oh no, we don't want to get involved with that. So bring extra doggy bags, trash bags to pick them up, put them in a secondary bag, maybe even a third bag. That's what I've done. So just some other tips. If anyone has any other tips that I didn't think about, please put them in the chat or share at the end. So just a thought on mindfulness and being safe. We do appreciate you going out of your way to leave the trails better than you found them. And then final notes. So remember, right now we did pre-orders for various reasons. I didn't want to buy more merchandise than we needed. I wanted to gauge how successful the program was. And we've raised over $1,000 for Leave No Trace so far. So thank you so much, everyone, for sharing this, for being a part of our first Leave No Trace Earth Series challenge. I am so thankful, honored, and proud of every one of us and what we're going to do to leave the trails better than we found them. And of course, I want to thank our sponsors who are going to be sponsoring the giveaway. We're going to have Katula, either Gators or Microspikes. Deuter is providing the dirt bags, and Obo's Footwear is going to give away a pair of shoes. So not only are you doing something amazing, but you have a chance at winning an awesome prize. So don't forget to fill out the finisher form at the end. All right, that is it for me. And do you have any questions or anything else that I didn't maybe share that you'd like to talk about before we let you all have your evening? Great comments there, everyone. I love your participation. You know, we had someone earlier that said she is working with pollinator census. I have a friend that did some counts with pika in Colorado. There's a lot of really cool things and ways you can get involved. So I hope that the challenge will also get you thinking outside of the box with other possibilities as Sherry wants to start helping kids with Leave No Trace. And of course, I also highly believe in that. Our children are the future. So the more we teach them to love the trails, to keep things clean, to follow these guidelines, you know, the better we're going to, you know, the better it is for everyone. And, you know, now they are being the example in the future. So thank you, everyone. It sounds like we don't have too many more questions, but I'm going to leave it open in case anyone has any other words before we close out. Yes, Angie, we will be recording this and sharing this back with everyone on that's involved in the challenge, and also anyone who isn't, just because there was so much good information here that this video is still going to help a lot of people that maybe they didn't have a chance to join this season. And on that note, we are planning to do this again in like a future period, because I know there's people that maybe for some reason couldn't sign up now, but we want to keep this going. I'd really love to raise $5,000 for Leave No Trace. That is a personal goal that I set. So we are 20% there, you know, so, you know, hopefully in the next couple seasons, we'll get them that goal checked. All right, everyone. Well, thank you all so much for taking time out of your Wednesday evening to be with us to learn. And we appreciate you all. And thank you, Matt, for being here. And
Thank you, everyone.
we'll see you out on the trails. Great work, everyone. Can't wait to see what we all do together. Good night.
Night.